Hello everybody, welcome to week 9. First, well done in the midterms, everyone who participated. If you didn't do a midterm exam, you need to get in touch with me quickly because I can't pass you for the course unless you've completed both midterm and final exams. So please get in touch with me if you haven't done the exam. But for everyone who did, thank you very much. Everyone did a good job. This week we'll be looking at week 8, how's the neighborhood. So I've posted the material on the LMS already for week 9. So you'll be able to find the files here. The grammar we'll be talking about, the question practice, and the target conversation. Okay, so Unit 8 looks at talking about your neighborhood, so describing around the area where you live. So we use area or neighborhood when we talk about the immediate area where we live. Okay, so there's some vocabulary to get you familiarized with talking about things in your neighborhood. Clothing stores, grocery stores, hair salon, laundromat. So a laundromat is like a coin-operated laundry. Newsstands are not really common these days in Korea. That could be like newsstand, like a stationery store. So there could be something like Daiso or Munggujom. Stadium, Starbucks for Wi-Fi hotspots. Okay. Drugstore also is more American English. Usually we say pharmacy these days in English. Yakguk. Gas station. So gas station can be said a number of ways. Gas station is quite American. You can also say fuel station or fuel, gas. Library, post office, pretty straightforward. So at the start of the class, we're going to practice this conversation this week. So I've prepared some material. Let me just find it. Okay. So for week 9, this is the material that I've posted the file. So for the learning outcome this week, you'll have to know for the final test how to talk about your neighborhood using quantifiers. Right? So the first part of the class will practice that target conversation here. And I'll get you doing some speaking practice. And during the speaking practice, we're going to focus a little bit on rhythm and how syllables can stretch in English to fit the rhythm in speaking to develop a bit more fluency. So it's a good idea if you can practice this conversation before class so that you don't have to read it so much and rather that you can memorize it a little bit so that you can speak it more naturally. We always aim, rather than reading practice, and I noticed that some people did some reading or presenting during their midterm, I much prefer natural speaking and a natural conversation. It's what we're trying to aim for, the communicative skill. Okay, so have a look at that dialogue before we come to class. I've posted it on the LMS as well. Our grammar focus. There is, there are, one, any, some. So again, asking questions about people's neighborhoods. Are there any shopping marts in your neighborhood? Yes, there are. Yes, there is. Right? So prepositions of place will also become in explaining where they are. There's one just next to my apartment building. So there's the target conversation. And so that's a different one, but I still want you to, I'll probably get you to practice both because I want to concentrate a bit more on speaking skill this week. The grammar focus. This is what the meat of the class will be about. Quantifiers, how much and how many. So again, question forms. So for the test, the final test, you'll need to produce questions like this for your partner. Are there many restaurants in your neighborhood? And your partner will need to answer correctly. Yes, there's a lot. There are a few. No, there aren't many. Right? How many restaurants are there? Right? So the big thing about quantifiers is countable and uncountable nouns. So is there much crime in your neighborhood? Crime is not very common in Korea, but you could ask questions like, is there much traffic in your neighborhood? Is there much noise in your neighborhood? Is there much pollution? Is there much rubbish in your neighborhood? Rubbish on the street or trash? Okay, so there's a grammar review for self-study down below. Right? And I want you to prepare your answers, because this will be the final part of the class in Zoom this week. We'll be asking and answering these questions to each other. So you should be able to ask, is there much parking? The answer would be yes, there is a lot of parking. No, there is not much parking around my neighborhood. Are there many apartment buildings? Yes, there are. There are many apartment buildings. So matching the correct quantifier to countable and uncountable nouns. Is there much traffic? Are there many pharmacies? Is there much noise? Are there many shopping malls? Or are there many shopping marts? Or convenience stores? Convenience stores. Pollution, fast food restaurants. Fast food, like McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, Mum's Touch, things like that. So I want you to prepare your answers so you're able to answer these questions in the final part of the class this week. Okay, so read through this. You'll need to personalize those questions for yourself. This is the grammar review for much and many. So much is used with uncountable nouns, things that are not counted. Liquids are not counted. Things like that have a lot of small grains, like sand or rice, are not counted. Many is used for countable nouns. Are there many cars? Bottles of milk? Are there many people? Things that can be counted. So often we answer these questions with a lot or lots of. I've got lots of money. There's lots of people. There's a lot of cars. That's usually a good answer. So you can, if you're not sure how to answer, you can use lot of or lots of. It's quite common in English. So we can use them as determiners and as pronouns, which I've looked at before. I haven't got much change. Change is jantong. Right? I've only got large notes. I've only got I've only got a 10 euro note. Omananjari. Right? I've only got big notes. Question forms are also important. So is there much? How many? Do you think many people like living in your neighborhood? Could be a good question. So read through these. This should be pretty straightforward. This is the more formal way of talking about much and many. Right? So there is much concern, many stories. We often use informal styles, a lot of money, a lot of people. We don't say, I went shopping and spent much money. I spent a lot of money. Much of and many of. Right? So it's talking about the amount that you've used. Right? So, have you spent much of your life in your neighborhood? Would be a good question. Right? Not many of the shops near my house sell panchan. Do many of the people in your neighborhood act in a friendly way? Right? That's more complex. I'll say that again. I'll write it in here. Do many of the people in your neighborhood act in a friendly way? So that grammar is quite complex, right? But it's a good question form. That's probably the highest level that I would expect, or highest level you could do for this class. This much and that much spoken English. So talking about quantity in this case. Right? So often in Zoom class you can say, oh, there's about this much rubbish, and you can gesture with your hands. You can indicate small amount or spread your hands wide. There's that much. There's this much parking, and you use a small indication with your fingers. Right? Often we use it for physical things. So I've got a little money. A little money is not actually correct in English, right? I have this much money. Right? And so often that Konglish can creep into English as well when we say a little money, which is not correct in English. Right? I only had a little coffee is okay, but I only have a little money? No, I only have a small amount of money. Lots and lots of with a noun, so it's very commonly used, as we talked about before. I've got lots of things to do. That's a lot of money. There weren't a lot of choices. Right? I don't have lots of time, or I don't have a lot of time. Both are possible. I don't have lots of choices. Are there lots of expensive cars in your neighborhood? Could be a good question. And then much, many, lots of negative questions, right? So negative questions, I guess, will not be very common, right? But you could say, aren't there many restaurants in your area? Right? Isn't there much parking in your area? It'd be interesting to see if you could use negative questions to talk about neighborhoods, right? Because they are quite common in English, but often developing speakers in English don't use negative questions because they're not as confident to use them. So there's a good opportunity in this class to use negative questions as well. Okay, so go through, have a look at those. That's quite forward. So when we don't use quantifiers, when the noun is obvious, cheese is obviously uncountable. So some cheese, not too much, please. Some envelopes, envelopes is countable. Right? Can you pass me some paper? How many sheets of paper would you like? How many people came? Okay, comparative adjectives and adverbs. Much older, much faster. I don't think we'll get to this, but it's good to know. Right? I feel sometimes the prices at the local shop are much better than the supermarket. Yes, that's true. You say sometimes the vegetables in the local market are much better than at the supermarket, right? Which is true also. There's much less parking in my neighborhood than before because there's many more people. Right? So that's a really good utterance. There's much less parking because there's many more people. Right? Big focus on the learning outcome for this class. Too much, too many, so much, so many, more than enough. Right? So too much food, too many people, too many cars. So many cars is also possible. So much rubbish. too much air pollution. It's too noisy. It's much too noisy in my neighborhood. Especially here, you can hear the siren. There's a lot of sirens in my neighborhood. Okay, I think that should get us to the end. I don't think we'll get to comparisons. I think there are as many cars in my neighborhood as in your neighborhood. Try to find as many restaurants in your neighborhood as you can. Maybe possible. Okay, check for errors, right? We don't say many effort. This could be good. There's a lot of monuments or statues or a lot of public buildings in my neighborhood. We don't say many public buildings, many statues. Okay, quite a lot. Good. See you in class. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to message me through Kakao Talk. Seems to be working the best. And I hope you have a good weekend and read through the material and prepare. And I'll see you in class this week.